Alright, Josh Rubin from East West Healing and Performance. Today I'm coming from Denver, Colorado. I'm out here for the Czech Institute teaching for the next 5 days. Well, that's 10, but it's really 5. Sitting here in my room, my little kitchenette, went to Whole Foods, just stocked the fridge. And I wanted to get out a quick YouTube clip. I was reading on the plane. You know, when I fly, it's a great time, if I don't fall asleep, to read, because I love to read. And I was reading an interesting book, or rereading an interesting book. Many of you guys have probably read it. If you haven't, if you have ADHD, ADD, any type of cognitive issues, any type of behavioral issues, autism, schizophrenia, depression, dyspraxia, any of that type of those things, a great book to read is The Gut and Psychology Syndrome by Dr. McBride. I'm not going to really go into the book itself, but I wanted to talk about fatty acids. You know, we have all these people taking omega-6, omega-3, on and on and on. You have people like, you know, Weston A. Price saying that it's necessary. And you have people like Ray Peat saying it's unnecessary. And, you know, personally, I think they're both barking up the wrong tree because, and I know it's a huge thing to say about these people or organizations that do all this research, but the bottom line is, I think it really depends on the person we're talking about. Don't you think? That's what really holistic health is, or holistic medicine. It really depends on the person. It's like I was taking a course this weekend with Guy Voyez, an osteopath and doctor from Canada and France. I think he was born in France and works in Canada, or still is in a little bit of both. But you can look up his work. And he talked about, you know, people would ask questions, well, what do I do if this client has back pain? And he'd say, well, it always comes down to the directive, the goal. Like, what type of back pain? Who's the person we talking about? Or when I'm teaching, people say, well, is this a good exercise? Well, who are we talking about? What's the intensity? What's the reps? What's the loads? What's going on with the person? On what phase of exercise are we in? So we can't generalize and say, this fat is good, this fat is bad, on and on and on. If you look at most of the fats that we eat, omega-3, 6, and 9, you know, 3 and 6, you need a specific enzyme to break them down. It's called delta-6 desaturase. If you're too high on omega-6 and you're taking all of an enzyme, it's actually really hard, even if you take an omega-3, to process it and break it down into EPA and DHEA because you don't have enough of the delta-6 desaturase. At the same time, with omega-3 and 6, you actually need vitamin C. You need certain B vitamins, magnesium, selenium, zinc, on and on and on. I can't remember everything, but you need certain prerequisites to actually break them down. If you don't prerequisites, you can't break it down. If you're eating the foods or taking the necessary supplements to break them down to EPA and DHA, but you don't have the precursors, it's useless. And that's why you see a lot of people actually taking straight EPA and DHA. Well, they show that actually DHA is better for brain structure and EPA is better for brain function. They've shown through research that some people do better on more EPA because when you take EPA, your body can actually convert it into DHA in the body. So it's all individualized. Same thing with omega-6. There's a lot of different oils out there like evening primrose, borage oil, black currant seed oil. Certain oils that feed the omega-6 pathway, the GLA, DGLA, and arachidonic acid pathway. And the best way to find out if you need it or not is to do a fatty acid lab. Fatty acid profile for Metametrics. You have people like Ray Peat that say fish oils and cod liver oils. All these oils are actually causing inflammation in people. On and on and on. And I agree with them to a extent because most people are actually overdoing it. You know, they're high in omega-6 and low in omega-3, and then they start jumping on the omega-3 bandwagon, and now they're actually dominant omega-3 and low in omega-6. The symptoms for being omega-3 deficient are exactly the same for being omega-3 dominant. You see it on fatty acids profiles all the time. So I think depending what you supplement with is very important, whether it's GLA, DGLA, whether it's an omega-6, whether it's omega-3, how much, when, if any. Not everyone needs it. So I guess my goal of this is telling you that there's certain precursors and then it's all individualized. The second thing is that she actually talks about in the book is it's been found that most children with these types of disorders that I talked about at the beginning actually have a deficiency of arachidonic acid in the body. Arachidonic acid is actually omega-6 fatty acid. It's actually the most abundant in the brain. 12% of the brain is actually arachidonic acid. And they've showed that it doesn't matter how much you take of it. If you have inflammation, if you have heavy metal toxicity, if you have any pathogens in the gut, what else does she talk about? Pathogens in the gut. If you have hyperinsulinemia, right? Almost being insulin resistant. All those things actually, what they do is they affect or downregulate what's called phospholipase A2. Or I think they abbreviate as PLA2. So phospholipase A2 is in the brain. It regulates, like if we have a balloon, it regulates how much arachidonic acid is coming out of that balloon in the brain, you know, during the day or during our life, week, whatever, or when it's needed. So we use these things to produce hormones and neurotransmitters and help the brain and fight inflammation. But when you have inflammation, when you have toxicity, pathogens, increased insulin levels in the body, all these things actually overactivate the phospholipase A2. What happens is it constantly releases arachidonic acid. So now we can't feed the neurotransmitter pathways. Now we can't regulate brain activity. Now we actually get inflammation in the body on and on and on and on and on. So I guess the bottom line is really understand why you're taking fatty acids. Understand the difference between the fatty acids. And if you're really confused, do a lab. I see so many people that actually have liver gallbladder insufficiencies by doing a GI lab. If you have a liver gallbladder insufficiencies, the very fats that you're taking in the body, whether it's omega-3, omega-6, coconut oil, I don't care what it is, you actually can't break it down. You're going to poop it out and your poops are going to float. That's a symptom of actually being liver gallbladder insufficiency. So the main thing is to actually decrease the amount of fats they're taking in, heal the liver gallbladder. It's usually coming from the stomach. You know, heal the stomach pH issues, you know, cleanse the liver, supplement the liver, and then you can start supplementing with fat. So everything's individualized. So I've kind of rambled. I just got off the plane. I wanted to get something out to you guys, so hopefully you enjoyed it. Just about fatty acids and really understanding that it's all individualized. And I don't care, Weston A. Price, Ray Peat, who you follow, there's no such thing as cookie cutter. You can't say that no one should have cod liver oil. It just doesn't work like that. There's just too many things going on in society, too many diseases, and too many nationalities to say that this is the way to do it. And that's really what I think is the problem with our industry. We have to start looking at people as an individual and seeing what this person needs in front of us. He might not need cod liver oil or any fats because he's actually toxic from eating so many fats. This person actually might need omega-6s and arachidonic acid, on and on and on. So thanks for tuning in. Tune in later this week. I'll get you another 2 clip for Denver, and I'm out of here. Peace.